I used to think when I was a kid that I would have made it when I was on the Muppets. Mr. Driver, it's time for you to be on a flight. That was like my dream. I used to watch the Muppets and go, one day, Oliver, I used to speak to myself in the third person, one day, Oliver, you will be on the Muppets, and then you will have made it. And then the Muppets got cancelled. And I used to think that national radio, the panel, would have to replace that. One day, Oliver, you'll be on the panel, and then you'll have made it. But Jim Moore and I have some sort of issue, so that never happened. So this is like my third best. One day, Oliver, if you get to be on Creative Mornings, you'll have made it. So pretty chuffed that I'm here. I'm pretty nervous, actually, which is weird, because I've done lots of speeches and lots of talks. I've done debates. I've emceed massive shows for like 5,000 people. I've done talks to students. I've done heaps of things, so I should be pretty au fait with this stuff. But I realized last night that that's always been about other people or other things or projects that I've been working on or, celebrations of other things. And this is the first time that I've had to talk about myself and my career, and that's really quite daunting. Also more daunting is the fact that I know hardly any of you. I kind of thought that I'd get here and it would just be my friends and some people from the theatre, like Bruce Hopkins, thanks for representing, and we'd just have a chat and it'd be fine. But now that I don't know any of you, it's even more scary. I met G just before. He's live tweeting this. I don't even know what that means. But apparently there are tweets going out live about me. I use Twitter really badly. I basically use it like when Millie Holmes goes psycho or Pebbles does something and I read about it in the paper, I then go to Twitter and go, oh, that's what they said. So I'll try and say something controversial like poor people are stupid or something, so that maybe that will boost my my Twitter things, and then the Herald will talk about my Twitter rant and it'll be awesome. Right, it's pretty weird to start thinking about your career and therefore your life in the context of telling other people something they might want to listen to and hopefully maybe get something from. And I really wish I spent a long time crafting some cool PowerPoint for you, but this isn't my nature. I'm one who panics at the last minute, which is where I live most of the time. So last night, in the last minutes available to me before this talk became today instead of just sometime in the future, I went through my computer to look at all the things that I'd done or tried to do or forgotten that I did. And I came across a bunch of writing that I've done, which I thought I might use that as a framework to kind of hang this talk on. My beautiful fiancée, Ella, suggested that I think of 5 lessons that I've learnt and relate a bunch of stories to that. And because I've learnt by now that she's always right, that's what I'm going to do. But because I can't let her think she's always right, I've done 13 lessons instead of 5. And this is my sad and pathetic form of rebellion. My other minor rebellion was that this morning she said, wear the blue shirt with the dots. And I put it on, and then I went, no, I'll wear my black shirt. And then as I was coming here, I was like, she looked at it and was like, no, I regret it. Here is my rambling thoughts punctuated with writing I'm petrified of reading out loud to all of you and some lessons I've learned to keep my future wife happy. Lesson 1, say yes to everything, even if it scares you. Or, yes, of course I can sing. I had to answer a question the other day about what I'm up to right now, and this is what I wrote. I'm directing a new TV show called Filthy Rich, which will be out on TV2 soon, a show I made called Live Cinema, where 4 actors recreate the music, dialogue, and sound effects for the 1960s version of the film Little Shop of Horrors, is live on stage, is currently touring Australia. I'm working on this year's Christmas show for the Basement Theatre and getting ready to bring back the ASB Santa Batch, which will once again be down at Wynyard Quarter. I also run a bar, and I'm opening 2 more. And so that's what I do, as I tend to do is I'm very bad at saying no to things. And I tend to say yes to every single thing that I can. And if it scares me, then I tend to say yes quicker. and then worry about it afterwards. So when Jade asked me to do this, I worried about it and panicked about it and thought no, and then right at the point where I thought no, that's really scary, I thought, well then yes, you should do that. Because often when I've said yes to things that scare me or that I think that I cannot do, I've surprised myself by being able to do them and having a great amount of fun with it. The best example I can think of was a show called 12th Night, which I really loved being in. And Michael Hurst was the director of that, and he said to me, Ollie, I want you to play the clown in 12th Night. And I said, great, cool, that sounds awesome, I love Shakespeare. And he said, yeah, I'm going to do it as a sort of like an old lounge singer who's an alcoholic, and all of you'll sing all of the songs. You'll do these songs and you'll sing them all. And I was like, I can't sing. And he was like, yeah. And I went, sure, yeah, no, let's do that. Let's definitely do that because that'll be great. And was petrified for the whole time. And I worked with Jason Smith, who's a little genius. And we worked on those songs, and what I found was that I'd do it once, and it would be okay, and then I'd do the song again, and it would be a little bit worse. And every time I sung it in rehearsals, it would get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And in the end, Jason, the musical director, said, "You know what? We should just stop rehearsing, and you should just sing it on stage." And go. You know, once I'd kind of learnt the basics of trying to hit the right note at the beginning, which was pretty bad for me because I'm virtually tone deaf. But I got out there and did this show with this microphone, which helped immensely. And I could sing. I certainly can't sing in karaoke, but for that play and for those 3 songs that I did, I could sing, and I sang it beautifully. For just those songs, and the reviewer said that it was like a weird cross between Tom Waits and Nick Cave, but it was a good review. And one day in that show, the power went out in the theatre, and with a microphone. Those of you who have used microphones, you can cheat a lot with a microphone because you can basically talk, and it comes across as singing. And it was right at the end of the play, and the power went out in the theatre. So the emergency lights came on, and there was only like 5 minutes left of the play, and all that was left was me to sing a song, and the curtain call was sort of at the end. And it was the most petrifying thing I think I've ever had, because suddenly this safety net of the microphone went down, and all of the actors, Tandy Wright and Jennifer Wood-Leland and everybody else, just sort of looked at me. And so I had to just drop the microphone and sing. And it wasn't beautiful. And it wasn't a cross between Nick Cave and Tom Waits, but it was still me singing out loud, and it still kind of fitted with it, and it still kind of worked. And so I guess my point of this rambling story is that it doesn't matter if you can't do it, as long as you do it. And as long as you believe in doing it, and as long as you do it with a smile, and then generally the audience will go with you, because they want you to succeed. You know, nobody's sitting there going, "Oh, I can't wait for him to fail." So yeah, that's my little that one. Lesson 2: there's nothing you can't do. Or yes, I am a professional dancer. I have in my career done many things. I've been an actor, a theatre director, a radio host, a reporter, a TV presenter, a comedian, a TV director, an MC, a producer. I owned a TV station. I was creative director of a TV show, dramaturg, writer, debater, and most recently I was a dancer for the lovely Tom Sainsbury and Lara Fisher-Chisholm and their Tierra Highway. And this is, I guess, another example of doing shit that you're afraid to do. They asked me if I would be in their dance show. And I said, yes, I would love to do that. That would be awesome to be in a dance show. I'm really uncoordinated. I'm like 100 feet tall and I have no fitness or flexibility whatsoever. But decided to do this dance show. And it was once again fun. And I think it's just this thing of that we're constantly afraid of what people will think. And we're constantly afraid of staying in our little boxes, and I think people are very good at trying to put us in boxes and going, oh, you're a writer, you're a da-da-da, you're a real estate agent, you're a whatever you think you are. And I really have fought strongly in my career to not be in those boxes. And I've often been people have told me, what do you mean you're hosting a news show? Aren't you an actor? And I always try to say, no, I'm an Oliver. And so, you know, I can do whatever I want. I don't have to be in the little labelled box that you've given me. And like a good example of that, I think, was when I was working for Auckland Theatre Company, and Simon Price asked me to direct the Vagina Monologues. And all of these people were like, you can't direct that, you're not a woman. And I'm not a woman, that's true. But I thought in my defense I'd seen more vaginas than most of the female directors. No. But I kind of went, I don't want to be limited to the fact that all I can direct is about white guys. And I think that if you there were 3 women in the production, and it was their stories that we were telling, and it was them, and my job was just to kind of work with them and get the best performances I could out of them. So yeah, I think it's important to not listen to everybody when they tell you can't do things, because it feels like often people are always trying to tell you that you can't do things. And that the most exciting people I know and the best and engaging friends I have are the ones who don't listen to that. The Danielle Cormacks, who auditioned for the Underbelly show that made her a phenomenal sensation in Australia while 9 months pregnant. And she did the audition with the camera above her breasts. She did the whole audition because she didn't want them to see that she was 9 months pregnant. And she got the part and then went, oh, and I have a newborn baby. But by that stage, they loved her, and I think most people wouldn't do it. And most people would go, oh, I can't do that, I'm pregnant. But Danny Cormack is an example of somebody who goes, fuck it, I will do it, and I don't care what you think. And I love that sort of human being, and I try to be that sort of human being as well. Lesson 3, nobody knows you don't know what you're doing, or bullshit gets you through. I've done so many things that I don't know what I'm doing, and it still applies today. I'm currently directing a show called Filthy Rich, and I've been directing TV for like 3 years, so I know how to get a good performance out of an actor, and I know how to tell a good story, but I don't know what lenses are what or how it works, and I literally stand in the studio sometimes with 50 crew waiting for me to shoot, going, get it together, Ollie, get it together, you know how to do this, don't stop freaking out. Because, you don't know how to do these things, but you just have to pretend that you do. And if you pretend like you know what you're doing, it kind of rubs off, and you end up kind of knowing what you're doing because you just go, I'll just act like I know what I'm doing. And eventually you sort of pretend that you do. And you rely on those people around you to help, which leads into my lesson 4, surround yourself with a great team, or look good by association, which is a thing I learned ages ago, which is nobody knows when they see the poster for the play that the actors directed 40% of it, and you have to be really wise, and your ego has to be at a point where you can identify ideas that are better than yours and also identify ideas that are not better than yours quickly. I think being a director, that's the most important thing that I do, is that I'm able to very quickly go, yes, that's a better idea than mine, let's do it. Or, no, that's not a better idea than mine, let's do it. And I think a lot of creatives are quite bad at going, yes, that's a better idea than mine, because they think it impacts on them some way, or means that they're not very good at their job, or that they're not very clever, or anything like that. But I go, I still get all the credit. So why wouldn't I use all of the available information to me? And it's not just that, it's a teamwork, which is why theatre is the best of the art forms that I'm involved in. I work TV and film and a bunch of things, but theatre's the best one because it's a bunch of creatives sitting in a room trying to figure out how to fucking do something. And it's like being a private investigator or a team of private investigators. You're trying to work out what the writer meant by this, or how to make this as good as possible. Ironically, it's kind of ruined when the writer's in the room. I've done plays where you have the writer in the room and you sit there and you go, I think what the writer's meaning with this comma is that you should think about the da-da-da-da-da and do this, and you have this huge thing. And then the writer would be back going, nah, I just thought it was funny. And you go, oh. So, and I think that important thing about surrounding yourself with a team is, if you're good at it, is that you'll work with them forever. One of the first people that I formed a really strong working relationship was a woman called Frith Walker, who is an astounding human being, and if you work in the theatre, you should thank her every morning because she helped make most of it here. And she worked really strongly with us. We were a very tight team, and we still are today, even though she now works for Waterfront Auckland and is responsible for making that whole Wynyard Quarter the amazing interactive play space that it is. And I predominantly make TV, we still get together every year to make this thing called Santa's Batch. And I think if you build up those strong relationships with people, then they'll last you forever, and you'll end up finding yourself in very different ways. Lesson 5, let things go, or this company isn't yours anymore. I did a lot of work on a company called Auckland Theatre Company, and Simon Prast created that theatre company. And it was one of the hardest things I think I've done, was sort of being kicked out of that company. I left on my own volition, but it changed, and I think it's very easy for creatives, when you build something, to think that it's yours rather than the city's. And I think, it's a very big life lesson to learn when you realize that this thing you've made isn't yours anymore, and it shouldn't be yours anymore, and you should actually celebrate the fact that somebody else is running it and doing it differently, but different isn't worse than what you were doing. And I guess I've seen that a few times, and I think that you guys are going to experience this, because at some stage the people who run Creative Mornings aren't going to be any of you, and you're going to go, hey, I made that, and that's my thing, and you're doing it differently. I'd never have got that guy to speak, or but it becomes kind of exciting after a while. You have to get ready to give up that stuff, and it's really hard because it becomes like your personal thing. And I built that company, and I built those things, and then you watch other people do it, and for the first couple of years you think they've done it really terribly and that they're ruining it, but then it becomes great, and you start loving it, and you start working for them again. Lesson 6, students and mentors become colleagues, or yes, you can tell Michael Hurst he's acting badly. And I think this is really critical, is that how people become colleagues without you even knowing it. I started this thing when I was with Auckland Theatre Company called the Second Unit Program, and we had this thing called the Ambassadors. And the Ambassadors was my thing, because I was remembering when I was at school and I loved theatre, and I was one of the few kids who loved theatre, and all the sports teams got like cool blue hoodies, but the theatre people weren't allowed it, and you just felt like a loser if you loved theatre, and there was kind of you and the geeky guy and the girl who got high points for a journal but couldn't act, and you wanted some feeling of place and community. And so we started this thing called the Ambassador Program, where we took one student from every school in Auckland and made them the ambassador of Auckland Theatre Company, and they were allowed to bring one person from their school to every show we did for free. And we would do these big ambassador nights where 60, 70 students would come and watch this show, and we would talk about it afterwards, and we would kind of have this really cool environment. And it was awesome to do, and I loved doing it, and that's all I kind of really thought about. It was this cool thing. And then on a separate story, these two lovely people, Tim and Helen, run the Silo Theatre. Tim's the marketing manager there, and Helen does everything else. They're really good friends of mine, and I really love them. And then one day we were sitting around drinking wine on my back deck, and they both said that they were ambassadors when I started the program, and that they came to the theatre shows that I enabled them to come and see, and that's what made them want to do theatre. And now they run the most innovative theatre company in the city. And while that's not entirely my responsibility or entirely my thing, it's partially fucking me. And that's really amazing, to think that this idea you had back here 15 years ago, and went, that's a cool thing, great, kids will get more out of theatre, actually did more than that. It made people who are now making theatre, who aren't under me, are above me. I ask them for work, and they do incredible stuff. And that works both ways. So Michael Hurst was one of my great mentors, and we did a play called The Goat, where I directed both him and Jennifer, which was incredibly intimidating. And for the first week, I sort of was just going, good, you were great. You were also great, fantastic. While inside thinking, oh my God, that's terrible. But, I gave Michael a note that broke it, where I was like, you don't need to know all this, but it was quite a strong and negative note, but with a positive kicker. best notes together. And he came up to me a couple of years ago and said that that's really stuck with him, and that, you know, every show he's done since then, he keeps remembering that note about his acting in general, you know. And so it's kind of this thing where your mentors can become your students sometimes, and your students can become your mentors, and that's really, really awesome. Lesson 7, love your friend's success, or why don't I have any friends anymore? And I think when I became Associate Director of Auckland Theatre Company, this amazing thing happened where I went from being Ollie the actor to Ollie the potential employer of all of his friends. And that's an amazing kind of shift or twist to take, because suddenly you find that when you go to the parties, you're different to everybody else, and when you're an employer rather than a friend. And I had it mildly, and Shane Bosher, who ran the ATC, had it massively. You know, he was one of my best friends, and he would find it so hard to relate to people. And I think it is a danger that all theatre directors have, or artistic directors. I think Sophie Roberts will discover it now. I think Colin McCall must know it. And you need to surround yourself with people who love you for who you are and have their own success and are happy with your successes. And that goes both ways. I mean, I'm thrilled that Taika Waititi is so successful. You know, back when we were doing films together and hanging out, and who knows which one of us it could have been, but it's him, and that's awesome. But it is awesome, and you have to kind of go, it's fantastic that Danny Cormack's doing that, and that, you know, Carl Urban is getting to be on Star Trek, and if you don't celebrate that stuff, if you can't, without bitterness or jealousy, go, that is awesome, then you can't expect people to do it for you, for your successes. And it's amazing for them, for the people who are above you, you know, it's amazing for them to have somebody who genuinely isn't annoyed that you're being successful, is genuinely happy and celebratory about the fact that they're doing well. And it's a great thing to do and to receive. Lesson 8, it's good to have a nemesis, or fuck you, Leighton Smith. Or here comes my controversial Twitter storm. I just think it's good to have nemesis every now and then. It's good to just pour all of your hatred into one person or group of people. When I was in the theatre industry, that was reviewers. We had a war against reviewers when Simon Crast and I were artistic director and associate director, which culminated in the banning of the listener reviewers to come to see the Vagina Monologues. The listener in response printed a blank column with the phrase at the top, "This is where our review would be if we were allowed to see the Vagina Monologues." And we did this fight with the reviewers for two reasons. One, reviews were shit, to be honest. They were badly written, and they were, our opinion was, if we've spent $200,000 in a month working on this play, you should spend more than half an hour at the end of the night writing this review with a pithy statement at the beginning and a pithy statement at the end and getting two names wrong in the program. You should give a shit. And Linda Herrick, who was the editor of the arts column in the Herald, got really annoyed with me one day because I phoned up again to complain about a review. And she was like, "It's a positive review. It praises the production." And I was like, "But it's badly written." Because that was my point. It wasn't about whether it was bad or not. It was about the fact that it wasn't, they didn't care. They didn't put as much time into it as I had the production. And if you're going to criticize me, then criticize me, you know, after doing your research. And Leighton Smith is just a cop. And when I worked at News Talk ZB hosting this show called Almost Monday, which was Sunday night, and I was the last sort of news presenter before Leighton Smith started in the morning, and so we had this weird kind of crossover where we never saw each other because we were separated by like 6 hours. But there was me, and then there was 6 hours of sort of, you know, nothing, and then there was him. And I just used to do these great, these things to piss him off, which really was good for my soul. Like the best one was, I did a competition for the viewers where you had to draw a picture of a horse and fax it to me, because we were like, why do we have fax machines anymore? Why is there a fax machine in here? You know, it's like, so draw a picture of a horse called Leighton and fax it to me. And hundreds of people did this, and I stuck them all around the studio. so that when he'd come in the morning, he'd be faced with like 200 horses, all called Latin. And then I did another competition called Gosh, That Doesn't Look Like a Potato, in fact it looks just like, where people had to send me their potatoes, and I would display them around his studio to annoy him. And while it didn't really achieve anything, I don't have cancer, so I think that release is what's helped me stay healthy. Lesson 10's real quick, it's just one line. It's called Be Prepared to Change Your Dreams, or yes, I love directing Shortland Street. Lesson 11, be prepared to fail and let things go. Well, nobody wants to make you a brilliant idea. I thought I'd just list some things because I've done a lot of stuff and everybody goes, oh, you've done heaps. But here's the things that didn't work or nobody wanted. Dog, a contemporary art bar that I tried to make. Flag, it was a company for people to get free stuff. The Kitchen was going to be this big theatre thing. I tried to make an artist stock market where rich people would invest in artists like stocks, and then they'd own a percentage of their future incomes. I thought it was a great idea. You know, it was like you go, oh, I'm a young artist, you give me 50 grand, and you guys get 10% of my future income. It didn't work because we're all poor, so didn't really work, that one. I've tried to make a bunch of TV series. These are the titles. You'll think they're genius. How to Be a Hollywood Actor in 7 Days, New Zealand Calling, Monday Driver, Man and Wife, Driver on a Bike, Dying Dad, Fugitive, Celebrity Signature Dish, The Mystery Hour. I tried to make a film called The Holiday Killers. Tom Sainsbury and I spent a year and a half working on this script. It was awesome. We finally got it right. It was a story about this honeymoon couple who ended up killing people. We finally got it right. I went, yes, let's send that to the film commission. And a movie came out called Sightseers or something. It was a Scottish movie. It was the exact same fucking plot. Exactly the same. It was like reading our script. So we just went, oh, it's a year and a half of nothing. I tried to make theatre shows called Celebrity Autobiography, the Facebook show, and the live music video. Nobody cared. I even tried to make a board game called Guess Who? It's You. This I thought was a genius idea. You know the Guess Who game where you go, oh, does he wear glasses or hat? So you'd get this box, right? You'd buy it from the toy shop, and it would come with like a CD-ROM or something. This is how old the idea is. It had a CD-ROM with it. And you'd load up photos of your friends, and then that would print out on like a piece of paper, and those would be the things on your little board. And so instead of saying, does he wear glasses, you'd be able to go, did Lisa sleep with him? Or, you know, do I hate them with burning passion 1,000 suns? Yes, Leighton Smith. So I guess just that is that, you know, you should be prepared that even though you can have some success, lots of people will think your ideas are shit. And a lot of them are. I'm nearly done. Lesson 12 is follow a good philosophy, and this is a philosophy I've tried to follow my whole life, and it really helps if you have a tiny modicum of fame to try and not be a dick about it. And that was that I try to view everything as like I'm in my own feature film, right? Because I'm TV and film, so this is obviously my philosophy. That I'm in a movie, and that my movie is called Oliver, the movie, and it's about me, obviously. And in my movie, you guys, you're mostly extras, to be honest. And Ella, she's like a co-star in the movie, and there's you're a regular, you're a featured extra probably, get a few lines every now and then, and my friends are core cast and all that sort of thing. And the thing that you have to remember is that, what's your name? David? That in David's movie, he's the lead. He's the lead dude in his film. And so if I treat David like an extra in my film, he gets really upset because he's not an extra in his film, he's the lead actor. And so I try to treat everybody as if they're the lead actor in their own film. And so when I go to the dairy, I try to remember that Suresh is the lead actor. His movie's called Suresh. And in it, I'm like the wacky celebrity that comes in. I'm like his featured extra wacky celebrity. And so I can either be the asshole wacky celebrity featured extra, or I can be the really nice one. And if you do that, and if you try to treat everybody like they're the lead actors in their movies, then your movie gets really good and becomes quite lovely. So that's my little philosophy of how to live my life. When I say a modicum of fame, I'm not really famous anymore. I'm sure a lot of you came tonight thinking that I was Jeremy Wells, because that's the most thing I get. I get asked at least twice a week, what the meridian ads are like, or that even though I'm nothing like it. I had an argument once with a woman at a kebab shop. It was like I was standing on K Road ordering a kebab, and she came over and goes, "Love eating media lunch," and I was like, "Great." She went, "No, loved it," and I was like, "Yeah, it's not me. I'm not Jeremy. You're thinking of Jeremy. Don't just be a dick about it. I'm just trying to give you a fucking compliment. Why do you have to be such an asshole?" And it went on for like a minute until in the end I literally had to go, "Sorry, I'm just being a dick. Thanks, I'm glad you like it. We work really hard on the show." I was sitting outside my bar the other night because we own a bar on Philosophy Road now, so we sit out there quite a lot. And I was sitting out there and these girls, like 18, tiny skirts, makeup, going out for a night. And there was this girl and they were all like, come on, and this girl's like, "I know him, I know you. You're on TV, eh?" And the other girls were like, come on, forget Jeremy Wells. And she was like, "No, I know him." And she looked at me and did like this squinty-eyed thing and went, "Reese Darby." I took that one and I was like, "Oh, yeah, nice to meet you, great." Okay, final lesson, because I pretend that bell was for me. This morning I went for a run with one of my dogs. The other one's got a hole in his head with a staple in it. But I've been running 3 times a week. I've been running 3 times a week from the day I found out we were pregnant. I want to be able to run around the park with my son. I want to teach my daughter how to play rugby. I want to grow old with my wife. So here are my final words of advice that I wish I learned when I was 30. Look after yourself. And something I'm still trying to learn myself. Yesterday, ATC offered me a play that's opening in mid-Feb. Our baby's due on February 14. And I literally stood there for a while trying to work out whether that was possible. I was going, well, it'll probably be late. It's not normally born early, so maybe I could open the play and then I'd be available. It took me a while before I actually turned them down, and I did turn them down. So my final lesson is learn to say no, which is what I'm trying to do now, because nothing is important as your family. And Ella over there is smiling, not because she's warmed by this, but because she knows that even though I said no to that, and even though she knows I'll be there for the birth of our child, that on the morning that our baby is born, I will be standing in a field somewhere with a film crew calling action. But I will be there when it happens. Thank you very much.